Welcome back to another episode of the Black Cinema Experience podcast.
Podcast.
I'm your girl, JB.
And I'm Cameron.
And this week we watched a heartfelt, sentimental documentary. This documentary is called For Our Children. It's directed by,
Deborah Silva.
and it stars the mother of Oscar Grant, Reverend Wanda Johnson. This movie is so touching on so many different levels, and it's not our usual go-to for films. You know, we like things that are a little bit more lighthearted, and this movie definitely takes you down an introspective path. So, with no further ado, Cameron, I did make you watch it. And sorry, Cameron, before I make you, give your spiel. I did have the pleasure of watching this at Array Studios. I saw it before it came out on Netflix. I actually got to be present for a Q&A with Reverend Wanda. And I also was able to be present for hearing Deborah Silva talk about her part in this film as well. So it was a really awesome experience to have a creative, artistic experience.
Right.
And I just loved that. So when I saw this film and I'm in the theater, I'm crying. I'm like, okay, tears. As soon as I got to the theater, I text Cameron and I said, Cameron, we've got to do a review on this movie. So with no further ado, Cameron, tell us what you thought about this film.
I think the film is very jarring. Again, we talk about it being the Black cinema experience, and documentaries, a sense art, an experience you need to have, and it's hard because it talks about real stuff, and then dealing with real life. I feel like it's even more hard. It's even more hard to try to conceptualize that this is really happening, and to go through something like police brutality, especially in the Black community, is something a lot of people have experienced in our community, and it hurts.
Yeah, it hurts, but it what makes it even harder to digest is the fact that this is happening in real time. So you're seeing, oh, her son was brutalized, but he's still alive. Thank you, Jesus. But as that story progresses, you see him being wrongfully accused of a crime. You see him, basically fighting behind bars. He's there for like 5 years, misses out on the first 5 years of his child's life. Really, it's really heartbreaking to see this story, because that was something that was done specifically because he said, I'm going to go ahead and take you guys to court 5 days before his case went to trial, is when he got arrested for capital murder.
Capital murder.
Yeah.
Which is, it's just crazy because, again, a lot of these men and women are just unjustly, most of the time, killed, murdered, in cold blood. And in this case, even when you're alive and you survive the assault, you still have to. And one thing Angela said throughout the documentary was that her son wasn't killed, but they killed his spirit. And it's like, well, dang, like there's like no solace anywhere. Like, even if you do survive, an attempted murder, because if you see the picture which he shows, he's brutally beaten.
And they refer that picture, and they put it side by side a lot to Emmett Till.
Yeah. It's crazy that this is still happening, and this, I love that it takes place not too long. It takes place in between 2016 to 2020, because it's something that we all recently experienced, and we went through somewhat together.
Yeah.
And to see how recent it is, and I don't know, it's like having to watch it is like you have to bring yourself to experience it, because we need to get these stories out and keep perpetuating the violence that's done against Black people. But again, being a viewer, that experience is always, obviously, you have your moments and tearing up, and
it's hard to watch these types of films because in reality, they media forces us to watch Black people getting killed on TV all the time. We're being forced constantly to see it, and thank God we're seeing it, because now we're finally able to say, hey, we got to stop this, we got to do something. But I mean, we're seeing it, which makes us numb to seeing it. But seeing this side of it, seeing it from the mother's side, we didn't have to see that we didn't see, and there's videos of all of these deaths, all these murders for all these mothers. We didn't have to see all of that to be able to feel what these mothers are feeling. This documentary took a complete different view of a story that we know all too well, and showed us the people that it's really affecting. But also, showing us the crooked system that exists, showing us that these flaws, like How are you guys not seeing that commonality? How could you have someone up on charges for essentially violence against another person, brutality or whatever, and let them still be a cop in your town? Like,
Exactly.
how are you missing this on the background check? How thorough is it? I mean, I've worked jobs that are not that serious, and I've had fingerprints and background checks. You're telling me that cops are just getting jobs after having brutality cases up against them? I don't care if the charges were done or not. They were brought up, and until he's proven innocent, he needs to be
suspended or something.
You
know,
can't
not
be.
working.
You cannot work in positions of power. But that means that somebody in a position of power is putting people like him back to work, knowing his background.
And at this point, it's like it's intentional. There's no way. Again, and then you think about a state like Alabama, one of the most racist states in the country. You know, it's not shocking. You know, and the thing is that we think, oh, it's like, oh, that's just something that happens in the South, but it happens here in California. It happens, and California is, one of the most liberal states in the country. So it's like no matter where you go, these people are, especially Black people, are still experiencing this, and not just men but women. You know, there's no distinction. Like they don't care as long as you have Black skin, you're a target. So again, I think it's very, very important that we do, no matter how hard it is to watch these documentaries, we do have to support them and let it be known that yes, we want to enjoy ourselves. We want to still take care of ourselves and experience peace in life, but we still have work to do and a lot of it.
Yeah. And it's hard to watch it just as a human because these women are having these human experiences. One of the mothers had came up to Reverend Wanda and was like, crying, and she says, "I don't know how you guys do it." Like she's one of the mothers now. She's part of that crew of women.
She said dreaded sorority.
The dreaded sorority that they never imagined or wanted to be a part of. But yeah, she's part of that sorority now. So she's crying and she's saying, "I don't know how you guys do it. I just don't feel. I feel numb." Like that was like heartbreaking to see, because just as a human being without children, without having that type of attachment to anyone, I understand the type of pain that she's feeling, because you're looking at someone else and you're like, you're going through what I'm going through, but I'm barely making it. How are you doing this? It just made me break down. So I was like, this is hard to watch. It's hard to know the truth about what's really happening, but it's really great to see this woman who's creating these healing circles.
Yes.
It's a community, no, regardless if you believe in the religious aspect or not. It's a community of women of similar experiences. It's like Alcoholics Anonymous.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just like that. You need community to get you through these things.
And people who understand you can grieve with you and empathize with you.
Exactly. So what did you think about the religious side?
I was about to ask you about that right now.
No, you can't ask me. I have to ask you. What did you think about the religious side of it? Because there was a lot of, like, dear God, and it's a real tricky space when you're praying to a God. You're praying to God, and you're
emoting and trying to make sense of everything,
trying to see the ray of sunshine in it all. Like, this is for a good reason. This is for helping people, going forward in the future. Like, tell me a little bit about how you feel when you see that.
Well, I feel like Black people have always been spiritual. Again, being somebody who does obviously identify with Christianity, because we all grew up, a lot of us have grown up with Christianity.
Right.
It's always hard to try to dissect and see like the good parts and the bad parts and how this part can help me. The thing I do love about religion in general is that it does give people hope, because especially for these mothers who, and a lot of, some of them, like, it was their only child, so it, like, not having children anymore, like experience something so detrimental, to have something to hold on to give you hope for tomorrow. I feel like that is important.
Yeah.
Now, some of the messages, like, God chose us to go through this pain, it's always kind of like, that saddens me, because I'm thinking, why would God choose me to go through this pain,
right,
and not choose white people to go through this pain? Right. Like, why do just Black people have to go through this type of dehumanization?
Yeah.
So I do understand where that can be, like, take that negative toll. Like, okay, you might want to let go of the religious aspect, but me personally, I do feel like for a majority of people, the hope that it brings, it does more good in that aspect. Now, in some other aspects, we can talk about the damage, but about another time, for another time. But I feel like it does help a lot of women and men get through and help them see the bright side, even though it's horrible. Yeah, like, it's horrible.
There is no bright side. Exactly. This world is unfair. This world is mean. This world is unjust. I thought that, again, I understand religion. It brings us
Mm-hmm.
closer together. It brings us community. It brings us, like a sense of purpose.
Mm-hmm.
But I was having a hard time with those exact
Yeah,
parts as
absolutely.
well. Like, okay, God chose us for this. Why in the world would God? Why is God choosing us for this? It's like Anyways,
No, I.
child. Anyways, I really thought that was probably the
Mhm.
only thing that I was just like, dang, that's interesting, because I wouldn't necessarily like have made it so religious, because how it's probably really challenging for a lot
Mhm.
of those women to still believe in God
Mhm.
and have that relationship with him after their sons are being taken off this earth, or their kids in
Mhm.
general, being taken off this earth for no good reason. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
and
Like,
the no justice behind it, the justice aspect. Like not only does my child die, that's the unfair part, but that
yeah.
that we know who did it, and they
Hmm.
don't have to face any consequences.
Exactly. And you
That's the
want
crazy
me
part.
to what, pray about it? And then that was
Mhm.
like one of the things, like Ulysses' mother, Fat Daddy's mother,
Mhm.
she had set up her altar.
Mhm.
Now, she set up her altar at the end. She's in there praying. She said, I'm gonna do this every day for as many hours as it takes until I can get Ulysses home. And as beautiful as that was, I'm like, is I'm not going to get into the religious side of it, because I just saw myself going there, and I don't want to get too deep into it. But I'm like, so
Mhm.
what are we doing here,
Mhm.
though? Because somebody allowed that to happen to him in the first place,
Yeah.
and now you're going to pray for hours. But thank God he came home.
Mhm.
At the end of the documentary, you don't see it, but he did come home. Fat Daddy is out of jail,
Mhm.
completely free of all the charges. So thank God for that.
And you want to look up the case? His name is Ulysses Wilkerson, so you know
Yes.
how to find information about
Okay.
it.
In case you want to get nosy. But yeah, absolutely. Find out the information. He is free. Thank goodness for that. And I don't know, honestly, this film was really hard.
Mhm.
It was really hard to watch. But when I say hard, I just mean in a way where it's triggering, because it's real, because
Mhm.
it's true, because we know that it's happening.
Mhm.
Triggering that because in these situations we feel so small, like we
Mhm.
can't do anything. But one thing I just want to say, for our
Mhm.
audience, is by sharing, by watching, by supporting films in this way, even though it's hard to get through that feeling of like, damn, is this trauma
Mhm.
porn? Because we're like seeing this horrible
Yeah.
experience happening to us over and over and over again. Like, do I really want to inflict that type of hurt on myself? I know what it feels like to be thinking about those, to deal with those
Mhm.
emotions. And I would say, watch the film, support the film, share the film, educate others about the film,
Mhm.
especially others of other races, so they can understand our journey and our plight. And just get the word out there about this, because it's more important that we spread the word of this, so we can hopefully one day get some type of police reform that's universal. One of
Mhm.
the points that the mom made was really about how it's their language,
Yeah.
like the blue language.
Mhm.
In the Q&A,
Mhm.
oh sorry,
No, no,
exclusive
exactly. I'm
information.
like, get the
in the
background.
in the Q&A, they asked the director, Deborah
Mhm.
Silva, and they asked Wanda, Reverend Wanda. They were like, do you think that the color of the police officers matter? Like, do you think that it's any different if it's a black officer causing like harm against a black officer, Asian against an Asian, like
Mhm.
whatever? Like, do you think that it's any different? And they were saying like, no, it's like their code,
Mhm.
like to protect themselves, like the blue
Mhm.
code. You know what I'm saying? Like to keep everything like protected, and to not be like basically to turn the other way.
Yeah.
You see somebody doing something wrong. Okay, well, you know what? We have a code, so that it's. She was saying that it doesn't even matter if the cop is black or
Mhm.
white or whatever. That it's a problem with all of the policing.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And I just thought that was really like important to mention, because it's not just we hate white cops. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? It's nothing like that. It's more so we hate the way that y'all are trained. We hate the
Mhm.
way that you
The
guys
system. The
it
system.
yeah,
Mhm.
exactly, and that you feel free to do things with no repercussions. So anyways,
I know, and I agree, but I also really want to very like emphasize like the work that these women are doing.
right.
These mothers,
Yeah.
average women who took up, picked up the like picked up their own bootstraps and like really are
Mhm.
like trudging forward to like get justice for their children. And I think that's amazing because again, I feel like we don't value and we really don't really pay attention to the amount that black women have put into securing rights for just everybody. It's always taking a lot of time taking a black woman to do something and to get something done. And one thing I loved about Reverend Wanda was that she was like, again 4 years ago when this first that was the 9-year anniversary.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't want to give Oscar Grant Muriel.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't want to name the street after him
Mm-hmm.
because they were like, why are we naming the street after the victim? But then you go in all these other cities in the South and everywhere, and they have Confederate monuments, and they lost
Right.
that's treasonous,
Right.
propaganda. So
Right.
she's like, he will have a mural. This street will be named after him.
Mm-hmm.
And lo and behold, that street is named after him.
Mm-hmm.
And they do have the mural, and she's working to still get his name remembered. And I think that's amazing because again, this black woman didn't take no for an answer.
Mm-hmm.
And again, her being a woman of faith, I do feel like that is inspiring because a lot of times we say our faith can be what does it really do?
Mm-hmm.
And I was seeing her do it and accomplish it, having her faith in God and in herself
Mm-hmm.
to get the work done, to see it come forth. The only thing that makes me sad is that it's at the detriment of her health,
Mm-hmm.
But it's still, I mean, you have to support these women and tell their stories.
You said something accidentally that just brought back another thought I had about
Mm-hmm.
this, and it's that these women weren't they weren't normal women.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't average women.
Mm-hmm.
These women are, to me, superheroes.
Mm-hmm.
When they got together in the different rooms and we're seeing the camera go
Mm-hmm.
around and they're basically introducing all the different mothers that are there. I'm looking at, for me, a tribe of women that are the strongest soldiers
Mm-hmm.
ever.
Mm-hmm.
And my heart literally breaks.
Mm-hmm.
Because we should never have to be this strong.
Mm-hmm.
We should never have to be able to, they were there building this community, this tribe of this tribe from
Mm-hmm.
pain.
Mm-hmm.
And it was for me, heartbreaking.
Mm-hmm.
Because wow, look at you guys, the strongest women I have ever seen. Mothers who have lost their kids for absolutely no reason at
Mm-hmm.
all. You guys are strong because you're carrying on. You're strong because you're sharing the message.
Mm-hmm.
You're strong because you haven't given up.
Mm-hmm.
These women are coming together, and women together can create and build and change the world.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm looking at these women and I'm empowered by it. My heart is broken because they shouldn't have to be so strong. Mm-hmm. They shouldn't have to face these challenges. They shouldn't have these experiences in life. So yeah, I want this story to be told more
mm-hmm.
because I do want things to change, because I want there to be groups of women that support each other, but I want there to be less of a need for it.
Mm-hmm.
It shouldn't be in every city where we have all these mothers that are connecting because of murders of their kids.
I mean, again, the aspect, like you said, of women support each other is a good thing,
Mm-hmm.
but for the circumstance, it's just it's ridiculous, and for something that's so preventable.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Preventable, hey, cop, don't shoot first.
Don't assume I have a gun, and then.
Or don't hire racist cops. Actually give them psychological evaluations where they can't get out of it. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Bring them different subjects. Who's creating the tests that these cops are taking that they're passing?
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Is that are they still using things I don't know. In my field of work, there are a lot of systems in place that really help racism continue. Okay? Mm-hmm. You were in a bad area, we're gonna charge you more money. Mm-hmm. If you're charging poor people more money, they have less money. Okay. And you're in a bad area, so we're going to take away certain coverages that we would normally offer anyone in a good area, but because you're in a bad area, we're going to take away that theft coverage. So if you do experience a loss, you can't recoup. Mm-hmm. That's what they do to our communities. This stuff is legal for them to do it to our communities. So I just want to see change. I just want to see a whole system change, because we have video cameras now. Thank God.
No, thank God.
But we're tired of walking in place.
And I feel like, again, that has been one of the things that has really opened our eyes, especially to us Black Americans, because we have been saying this for years. People have been putting in the movies, and people are like, oh, that's just fantasy. This isn't really happening. But now that we actually have the footage and people are seeing that this is really happening, still really happening, even though, this is a post-racist country. We've had a Black president, but that doesn't stop people from getting racially profiled.
Biracial.
So I definitely say, really check this movie out.
Obama was biracial. I'm just saying.
He is biracial, but then he also married a Black woman and has Black children. So
he Black as hell.
I feel like it's different.
You're right. You're right. It is different.
No,
if he married a white girl, then
I'm not one to police your Blackness, but if he had Karen instead of Michelle, it would have been a completely different story.
That's true.
It could have been just like the
If he
Supreme
would have had
Court.
Karen and Michelle, I don't know. I don't know if he would have won that
It
one.
could have been. He could have been a Clarence Thomas, but we're not gonna talk about that.
Okay. All right, so anyways,
watch the movie.
Yeah, I think that's like the main idea. Watch this movie, support Black filmmakers.
Give it 2 thumbs up on Netflix.
Okay.
So that they know that people are watching this movie and it's making an impact.
Okay. And yeah, let's support our people. That's it. That's it. So thanks for watching the Black Cinema Experience podcast. I'm your girl JB.
And I'm Cameron.
Make sure you like, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel. This is the only way that we grow as a community. Thanks again for watching. Bye.